December 1891, Springfield, Massachusetts. A gym class of bored, restless college students was about to riot, and their teacher had 90 days to invent a new game, or lose his job. What he came up with would become one of the most watched sports on the planet. This is the wild history of basketball. That teacher was James Naismith, a Canadian physical education instructor at the YMCA International Training School. New England winters trapped his students indoors, and nothing, not gymnastics, not marching drills, could stop the chaos. Naismith grabbed a soccer ball, borrowed two peach baskets from the school janitor, and nailed them to the gym's balcony railings, 10 feet off the floor. Nobody planned that height, it was simply how high the railing happened to be. His students wanted to name the new game Naismith Ball. He refused and suggested something far more literal instead. There was a basket, and there was a ball. Basketball was born. He wrote just 13 rules: no running with the ball, no tackling, and you scored by tossing the ball into the opposing basket, a far gentler alternative to the brutal football of the era. On December 21, 1891, 18 students played the very first basketball game, 9 players to a side. The final score was a grueling 1-0. There was just one problem. Those peach baskets still had bottoms. Every single time someone scored, a janitor had to climb a ladder and fish the ball back out by hand, for years, before anyone thought to just cut a hole in the basket. Word spread fast, because the YMCA already had training centers across the country and around the world. Within a few years, basketball was being played from Boston to Beijing, riding a network Naismith never had to build himself. Early players also had to deal with a laced-up soccer ball that bounced wildly in every direction. It wasn't until the early 1900s that a proper molded, seamless basketball made dribbling remotely predictable. Professional basketball arrived shockingly fast. The first pro league launched in 1898. Games were rough and physical, often played inside wire cages to keep the ball in and rowdy fans off the court. That's actually where the old nickname Cagers comes from. For decades, after every single basket, players had to stop and fight for a center jump ball. Games crawled along at a snail's pace until the rule was finally scrapped in 1937, and scoring exploded overnight. In 1926, a team called the Harlem Globetrotters formed in Chicago, not New York, despite the name. At a time when many leagues excluded black players, the Globetrotters dazzled crowds with a level of skill and showmanship the mainstream game had never seen. After World War II, to rival pro leagues, the BAA and the NBL were bleeding money fighting over players and arenas. In 1949, they merged into a single league, the National Basketball Association. By the early 1950s, teams had found a boring loophole: grab a small lead, then just stall, holding the ball for minutes to run out the clock. Fans hated it, so in 1954, team owner Danny Biasone introduced the 24-second shot clock, and it single-handedly saved the league. A flashy rival league, the ABA, launched in 1967 with a red, white, and blue ball, and two ideas the NBA dismissed as gimmicks: the three-point line and the slam dunk contest. The ABA folded in 1976, but those gimmicks didn't. The NBA officially adopted the three-point line in 1979, permanently changing how the sport was played and setting the stage for the shooting revolution decades later. The 1980s brought the rivalry that saved the NBA's TV ratings: Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird, two era-defining superstars pushing each other to greatness. Then came Michael Jordan, whose global fame turned basketball from an American pastime into a worldwide obsession, especially after the 1992 Dream Team stunned audiences at the Olympics. Women's basketball is almost as old as the men's game. In 1892, just a year after Naismith's invention, physical educator Senda Berenson adapted the rules for her students at Smith College, creating one of the very first organized women's team sports in America. It took over a century for the professional game to catch up. The WNBA finally launched in 1996, and today, it's one of the fastest-growing leagues in the world. Basketball's global takeover kept accelerating, with stars like Yao Ming from China, Dirk Nowitzki from Germany, and Giannis Antetokounmpo from Greece proving the sport belonged to the whole planet. And here's one last odd fact: dribbling itself wasn't even in Naismith's original rules. Players just started bouncing the ball to move it legally, and the rule book eventually caught up. From a punishment assignment in a snowbound gymnasium to a multi-billion-dollar global phenomenon, that's the wild history of basketball. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit subscribe for more untold origin stories from the world of sports, and tell us in the comments which sport we should uncover next.